A Hairier Problem by Blue Bastard. Chapter 8. Give a Dog a Bone. If one were to describe Pinkie Pie, some pony would mention how she was like cotton candy given pony form in life. You would mention her desire to make every pony in her town a friend, to the point of being stalker-like in her methods. You would mention her expertise as the party-planning pony extraordinaire in all of Ponyville. You might even mention her little-known origins as a filly on the rock farm who gained her kitty mark through making her family smile for what must have been the first time in their lives. The word serious would not appear in those descriptions, unless they were talking about Pinkie Pie at the present moment. Her face was almost inequine in how it had been devoid of even the smallest hint of a smile. Her eyes catching the light in some way as to make them appear fully white and hiding her bright blue peepers. Her forelegs were resting on the table in front of her, who was folded in such a way as to making a frontal view of her face see nothing but her white eyes at the top of her muzzle. "All of you," she spoke in a very uncharacteristically deep voice, causing one of her addressees to whimper, "need to understand the importance of this meeting. What we are here to do is—" The dark room suddenly became lit up, revealing it to be nothing more than a back storage room in a corner. Pinkie Pie was sitting at the head of the table, made of a plywood sheet, on top of boxes of sugar, around which sat Rainbow Dash, Verity, Applejack, and Fluttershy. "I'm sorry," apologized Mrs. Cake. "I didn't know you were using this room." Pinkie Pie shrugged. "Not a big deal, Mrs. Cake. I was probably going to turn them back on myself. The whole managing angle of beating leadership thing isn't my thing anyway." So Ray started to pick up a bag of chocolate chips sitting nearby, throwing them over to Mrs. Cake. "Think you did it," replied the portly blue pony, turning and leaving the back room. "Anyway," continued Pinkie, seemingly forgetting the intimidation factor she had originally been going for. "So I was going back to Pineville soon, so I want to make this the best welcome back to Pineville party ever!" "But that's what you said the last time, remember?" Rainbow Dash pointing out. "Yeah, but it's always good to aim higher with these things. Plus, Twilight's a princess, so there's no excuse." "Don't forget, everything needs to be perfectly in line proportion, and these streamers exactly perpendicular to each other at right angles. And even amount of frosting on any cakes and baked goods," Verity reminded. "You all know what happened in that time we tried throwing a beach-themed party and she tried fixing the crab seed cake because the right claw was bigger than the left." He let it go and run over the crab. Verity was never going to let any point forget that incident. It wasn't so much the actual event as it was Verity constantly bringing up, since no point was going to forget the day Verity's hidden disgust of giant crabs ended up with her finding what had been a simple cake in the middle of town. "One day, I'm going to get to this why we did this whole entire Rarity versus Giant Enemy Crab meme." "Well, sorry, Fluttershy, trying to avoid thinking about what Rarity had done to the cake-turned crustacean. "Why don't we just hold a small party, just the 6 of us? I don't think Twilight would want us to make this so grandiose because she's a princess. If anything, she'll probably prefer us just treating her as we did before her ascension." You mean she doesn't like my puns?" whimpered Pinkie, hair beginning to deflate. Even though Fluttershy didn't mean anything like that, and a mere implication that Twilight took offense to what Pinkie did best was enough to start the energetic mare sliding down a hill of depression. Applejack took immediate action. "Bet it out loud, that's all Fluttershy's saying, Pinkie. What she meant was maybe this time, bigger ain't better. We all know how much you like to throw big parties, but I'm in agreement with the idea that giant bias is the way to go here. Plus, just because it's a smaller, don't mean it's not just as special. It'll be more intimate, I guess." AJ made a quick glance to Rarity to confirm the appropriate word choice, which the fabulous mare confirmed. "Oh, okay, I can work with that," chirped Pinkie, hair stepping back to its undefined natural state. "Especially since she did like the small-scale party we threw to her that one time when we crashed the garden party." No high society crossing this time either," suggested Verity. It's not really my style. But what is my style is—" Pinkie leaned onto the table. The other 4 mares following suit. A smile on their faces signified Twilight was going to have the best small-scale party ever. Or at least, that's how it was originally planned to be, at any rate. Over at school, the CMC were at the heart of a horrifying discovery that Scootaloo dug up in one of the old board games in the schoolhouse's entertainment corner, meant for colts and fillies to play with on rainy days during recess. "I knew this game was rigged! I just knew it!" declared Scootaloo, holding a card with questions listed on it. "Hey, Nobody ever gets that far in the game before recess is over, pointing out Truffle Shovel. Okay, answer this. Who was the first pony to play the titular role in the original production of The Eye of Argon? Murmurs sounded from the gathered crowd of young ponies. But none of them answered. Skulu flipped the card over. Light and Limerick. Seriously, has nobody ever heard of that pony before? Almost a unanimous no came from the crowd. Thought so. But before anybody says just one bad question, let me answer another. Mostly for Apple Bloom, the Earth Pony Philly drew the card from the box and handed it to Scoots. Next question. What's the answer to life, universe, and everything? More negative numbers. 42. Silence then rang, as if the crowd expected Skulu to keep going. No, seriously, everybody. That's what the answer says. To prove it, he handed the card to the crowd. To their surprise, he was correct, and 42 was given an answer. Ding! growled Sweet Belle, walking over to kick the box lightly. Little triangle pieces, shaped like pizza slices, momentarily went airborne, before landing went back into the box. Skulu retrieved the card, returning it to the deck before putting the lid back in the box, to seal away the unfair contents. Just then, Charlie hastily came to the door, prompting everybody else to rush to their seats. Apologies for being late, class. This spring in my alarm clock is losing tension and woke me up at the wrong time, explained the teacher. There'd been another reason why she was running late, but the students would soon figure that out. Now, I'm sure we all heard about what happened to Diamond Tiara a few days ago. Snickers suddenly became audible. Not all the class was laughing, but notably Silver Spoon, and oddly enough, the CMC. But, whatever you may have heard, there's no evidence to suggest it was anything but just a bad nightmare. I'm sure you all have had experiences like that yourselves, right? Shirley gave them a look and had them all shrink back slightly. I thought so. Now, I want you to be nice to Diamond Tiara. She's going to be all right enough to come back to school. I don't want any of you taking advantage of her. Yes, Miss Shirley, replied the class in a stereotypical monotone. Satisfied, Shirley walked over to the door and poked her head out. After what must have been a brief exchange of words, Shirley stepped back to hold the door open. Instead, Diamond Tiara. However, to everyone's surprise, she didn't walk in with the attitude akin to a high society socialite, one who looked down on practically everything in Ponyville. Instead, she walked with a careful manner, slowly scanning the room as if there would be something in the dark corners that would leap out and attack her. She paused for a moment when she locked eyes with Apple Bloom, but the filly sitting at the desk did not mess up with the thing from a few nights ago, so resisted every urge to run for the schoolhouse screaming. Is everything okay? Inquired Charlie. No, I'm fine. I'll go take my seat, half replied, half whimpered Tiara, moving to take the empty desk next to Silver Spoon. Young Grey Mare looked with wide eyes at her friend, almost not recognizing Tiara with this new attitude. She had to talk with her in private during recess to get the full story, since her attempt to visit the Ritz Mansion after the incidents just had the mains turn her away. Over in the CMC camp, hushed whispers were raised. Well, I knew you got her good, but, well, whispered stunned Sweetie. Yeah, I know we all said she deserved it, but now I'm wondering if it was more than that, Skulu added. Apple Bloom said nothing. On the one hoof, she felt Diamond Tiara had deserved the whole ordeal. She put the CNC through so much trouble and grief over the years that the current backlash being delivered in one blow would appear to be a substantial amount. But on the other, she knew what it was like to be in Tiara's horseshoes, and have kind of fear. While the situation was different, it was Tiara's expression that said enough. That fear she inflicted on the wilty pennant filly was as much Apple Bloom's fears that one night back in the Whitetail Woods, when she was briefly stripped of her identity as a pony. For Diamond Tiara, however, who glanced up at the exact moment Apple Bloom's compassionate eyes looked over at her, it was a different story. Those big golden eyes, Tiara saw the monster for that night, laughing maniacally at her misery. She didn't know how the idea popped in her head, but the sinister glint in the gold meant Apple Bloom was hiding something. Was he truly just an ordinary filly, just blessed with social connections Tiara littered her heartwarming Eve whistlers with? Was there more to the story? Only one way to find out. Narrowing her eyes, Diamond Tiara looked over at Silver and whispered, Got any plans later? Her heart skipping, as the Sapphire sign Tiara was already back to normal. Silver eagerly shook her head from side to side. Good. Does your manor have that large slide bearing in the back? Spoon's shaking went from horizontal to vertical. Perfect. We have some reading to do later. Raspberry Barrel walked out the door of her home into the bright sunlight, breathing in the fresh air. On her back sat her saddlebags full of various gems that had been organized by the ponies he would be delivering them to. Heliodor then followed suit, soaring out the door and landed taking a perch on a nearby tree. He cooed concernedly when he locked the door when the magic. Oh, don't worry. No pony's gonna see it. Raz assured her pet. Not many ponies lived around where the unicorn and Phoenix dwelled, so there was no chance any pony would see her magic and overreact. Nearly nodding, the young Phoenix left his perch and flew towards the woods. One of the benefits of having a predatory bird as a pet, Raspberry found out, was that they practically took care of themselves. Sure, she got a little queasy every time Heliodor came back with a half-eaten rodent in his beak, but she never had to deal with him forgetting to do his business, where it wouldn't bother any pony. Considering how often they had to change places because of residence over the years, not to mention the troubles he had to go through on a daily basis, it was a blessing the closest things he had to family for all these years was naturally so intelligent. Sure enough, Heliodor came back, thankfully without a to-go meal, and took his regular perch on his owner's horn. To his surprise, however, she shook her head slightly, indicating she did not want him there. Not now, Healy, explained the unicorn. Your breath still smells like a dead mouse. He blushed and proceeded to simply hover alongside her while matching her pony's speed. Truth be told, she just didn't want him on her horn because her head was being weighed down already with the thoughts what she might possibly do today. One thing for certain was to try and stay on the good side of 5 specific ponies, rather than 4 specific ponies and avoid the 5th one entirely. Randy had shown signs of promise as being a strong supporter should things go the way they always had, with Rainbow Dash and Applejack possibly being on the same side if they truly were the embodiment of loyalty and honesty. Fluttershy, well, considering Raspberry knew the entire town compared to her to the Pegasus because of both their similar demeanor, she was sure that in the events finally met, things would go okay. But Pinkie Pie, there was something wrong with that pony, Raspberry knew, something far stranger than anything that Jim Pelter had ever gone through in her life. But whatever it was, it certainly would see through Raspberry's lies and send everything crashing down. I can't let that happen, thought the red mare. As a Heliodor, the closest thing I even have to a friend is Rarity, and even beyond that, Ponyville's the last town in Equestria where I can sell gems. If things go south again here, the only places left of me are the settlements and dry lands. Maybe I could be an aid to the buffalo tribes, find turquoise gems out there. Without proper hunting grounds, Heliodor will die because of lack of food. Though I know he'll stick with me to the end, because I refuse to let my pain claim him as it is my mother in childhood. Heliodor's cry snapped Raspberry out of her trance. Finding herself having been on autopilot, walked a good bit of the way to her first stop. While Rarity was, among other things, Raspberry's main outlet for selling her gems, Fashionista was far from the only pony who called upon Raspberry's services. But those other clients usually just wanted small diamonds or tiny other precious stones, which, for the dirt cheap prices Raspberry offered them, they couldn't resist having some rubies to decorate a clock or a sapphire-lined frame for the family photo. Rarely did any pony want something bigger, unless they were named Rarity. While the Grey Unicorn was the one the majority of the gems and Raspberry saddlebags were being sold to. Carousel Boutique was intentionally the last stop, as it allowed little time for the unicorns to converse with each other. Granted, those times were usually cut short by Raspberry, for any number of reasons, and Rarity was usually to talk the whole time anyway. But today was the day Raspberry finally resolved to take up Rarity's offer and stay for tea. And never having actually chanced to drink tea, Raspberry was a mixed bag of emotions about trying something new. What do you think tea is like, Healy? She asked, having just made her stop before the boutique. He called her in a manner that suggested he had no idea. Me neither. But apparently it's what high society ponies drink all the time. Apparently their blood is partly made up from this stuff if they drink it as often as Rarity says they do. She noted Heliodor, now perched on his horn usual, sniffing slightly to mention the word blood. Healy, just being figurative. If anything, this could be the day when I could finally confide in some pony. The Phoenix looked hurt. I said some pony. As I said, the thing sitting on my head is a phoenix. Pleased at her elaboration, he smiled. But then, as if realizing something horrible, he quickly looked down at his caretaker, cooing with a concerned tone. And yes, your perch is a horn that does belong to a pony, even if you're one who has to remind her of that now and again. Feeling her pet rubbing his head against hers brought a smile to her face. One she kept on wearing until she came into view of the boutique, More specifically, being able to see Rarity waiting outside the building with a smile, and clearly indicated something was in store for Raspberry. Unfortunately, surprises were not something Raspberry liked. It was a rare thing for surprises, much like whenever she had to do magic in view of other ponies, to ever turn out well. Most of all, as the smile slowly fell from her face in realization, she considered the possibility she still wouldn't be able to try tea. The private library, contained within the mansion's silver spoon called home, was smaller than the collection at Golden Oaks, but several factors were at play in Diamond Tiara's decision not to go to the latter. First, Twilight's Hoofpeck's successor for the job of Ponyville librarian, a recent graduate from Celestia School by the name of Wisdom Seeker, was really, really creepy, and sometimes went off on so-called prophecies about the local mail-mare, Derpy Hooves, and her involvement on some great journey or some Norse sense. Every pony, Derpy included, was convinced he just had the hots for her. Damien had made it to a point not to go to the library until he eventually got replaced by somebody slightly saner. Which would be Twilight. Okay, you asked for it, Vic. You asked for this. People, why was it that so many people back in the old days had this weird idea that just because Twilight got the crown and got the wings meant that she had to leave Ponyville, and that she couldn't do her job as a librarian, and that she couldn't hang around her friends? Why? It makes no sense! She's a freaking princess! She can decide if she wants to! Sailor Jupiter's a freaking princess too, and she wants to become a banker! So, why not? What? Is there some sort of bylaws that says she can't? Twilight's a princess, she can change if she wants! I mean, unless Ponyville's a democratic monarchy, which it isn't. No! Twilight's perfectly fine. But nope, some people had in their head that Twilight had to leave. No, she doesn't. She also doesn't have to abandon her books. She doesn't have to abandon her studies. She doesn't have to abandon anything she likes. Because she's a freaking princess. She can do that. No, but several princesses out there have jobs. But nope, Twilight has to leave her job for some reason. I mean, it's not like she can do it because she likes to, or it's like she gets closer to people. No, she has to leave. Why? Because it makes no sense, that's why. Oh, okay. BS. Yeah, BS. Thank you. The fact that he was put in that position because of the princess was also a reason to avoid Golden Oaks, since if there was something wrong with Apple Bloom, Applejack would know about it. So therefore, Princess Twilight would know about it. If Diamond Tiara walked to Golden Oaks with her current intentions, there was no question Seeker would tell the princess, resulting in a royal guard standing outside the Ritz residence the following morning. Another reason is that Diamond Tiara was privy to a secret about Silverspoon's family. The first of their ancestors to have silver in their name had been a blacksmith by the name Silverstreak, who, according to legend, had founded a secret society dedicated to the eradication of all supernatural threats to the equestrian populace. Fan ponies, werewolves, even the slender pony. The Men of Letters? You stop that. No supernatural references! Centuries ago, but Silver Spoon was right. Some of the old research from those days have been preserved in the family archives. Are you sure there's anything in those dusty writings about what's going on with Apple Bloom? Or the great feeling? I'm telling you, Silver, when I looked into those eyes, there was something dark and evil in them. As a professional in the fields of harassment and being rude to others, I think I should be able to tell when a pony's eyes reflect the natural nature of them being jerks, like me, or there's darker forces at play. Does your dad know about this? Of course he knows I'm gonna be spending the night at your place. After my little panic attack, he thinks it would be good for my mental health, or whatever, if I get out of the mansion. More like a therapist would be better for your mental health, thought Silver. Well, aside from the new assassin, there was nothing significantly different about her friend. So it might as well be for the best and just treat it like a fad that would soon pass. Soon, the two fillies were in the Silver family library, busy looking for anything Diamond thought would be useful. Of course, since the Crown Pony didn't know what she thought Apple Bloom was, anything that mentioned anything about ponies being actual monsters in disguise qualified. It was in the middle of one of Tiara's monologues about how Apple Bloom may be an evil beast native to an area near Tryham because of a new secret addiction for the imported Tryham cheese that Silver found something actually relevant. Hey, Tiara, you may have been actually onto something. Check this out. That Apple Bloom actually does need to eat about 20 pounds of one steel cheese a day. The obsessive pink pony asked as she tried it over. Getting an "Are you bucking serious?" from her friend. Well, I don't think it's cheese you may be after, but something far worse. Read from here. Upon the glasses wearing feeling, gesturing with her hoof, unknowingly Silver Spoon and Diamond Tiara stumbled upon some information similar to that which, almost a year earlier, Saddlewood and Lyra uncovered within the Crystal Castle. While the Phillies didn't have a member of the Apple family that confessed to being a werewolf, or the professional research notes of King Summer himself, the information Silver Spoon's ancestors had recorded during that time, when werewolves fought under the banner of Nightmare Moon, strongly implied the youngest Apple had contracted lycanthropy, as well as the given behavioral changes matched up to Apple Bloom's recent mannerisms. Look at this. When they were scouting out suspected werewolves, they noticed the ears on their targets were generally more wolf-like, straight up to the point, instead of having rounded sides like normal ponies. Mrs. Silver Spoon, rubbing her own ears with a hoof to convey her point. I can't remember off the top of my head. Apple's ears have been looking a bit different compared to the rest of the normal Cumulus ears. Can't really say until we get a good look at her ears, replied Diamond. This bit about how their tempers are usually not noticeably increased if the pony's attitude was known to becoming a werewolf. Now that sounds more like what's going on. Do you think it might have been right up to the trip to Whitetail Woods? Can't be. She humiliated me a few days before the weekend. Although now you mention it, she was acting really strangely during the trip. So maybe it was a few days before she started being one of these things. Well, outside of whatever she did that ended up with her wearing that thing on her leg, we don't know. Unless the injury that thing was somehow turned her a werewolf. Yeah, shouted Diamond. We're never gonna figure this out, even if she isn't a werewolf. The only way we're gonna figure this out is if we can stalk her like your old ancestors. But we don't have the skills or the equipment. With that frustration, she slammed her hose against the bookcase, suddenly knowing that one of the books she hit somehow slid inward. The sounds of the wheels on a track were heard as the bookcase suddenly slid back and sideways into a wall, revealing a hidden cache of dangerous-looking weapons. Hey, I knew Mom and Dad were keeping secrets, but this is getting insane, Silver Spoon yelped. I mean, this stuff belongs to the museum. If that, it's probably all silver in those sharp blades. If they're as old as they look, they'll be worthless if they hit anything with enough force. Diamond Tiara looked at her friend in shock. Since when did you suddenly become an expert in metals? Silver just raised an eyebrow in response. What? Didn't I tell you my special talent is being a silversmith? I mean, fine metalworking has been in my family for generations. Why else do you think my family is the second richest in Ponyville, second only to yours? Seriously, did you think my cutie mark was a persistent narcissism or something? Demi and Hairier thought it would be prudent not to comment on what she thought her friend's cutie mark had possibly meant, especially since her flank had been blank longer than Silver Spoon's, in consideration as to what her tiara cutie mark meant. Instead, she went back to the subject of going old school on Apple Bloom's behind. All right, Miss Millard, whatever that word is. Can any of this stuff be used? Silver shook her head. The fact these things are preserved as well as they are is impressive, since as far as I know, my bloodline is Earth Pony up to the generation before those things were forged. But even with a magic protective coat, my family probably paid unicorns to put these years ago. Silver is not known for its durability as weaponry when it is newly melted, due to its inherent malleability. 1,000 years just makes the metal less sturdy as it reformed to something new to temper the shape. Then why make weapons out of it if the very thing it's supposed to be doing is what it sucks at? Shouted Tiara, confused as to why the wall of deaf instruments in front of her been explained it has been totally worthless as actual deaf instruments. Because silver is actually a very pure metal. Anything of unnatural origin, such as werewolves or vampires, have very bad chemical reactions, so they come into contact with it. Usually, the same as the burn you get if you put your hump inside a large campfire, coolly explained Silver. Deliver enough force behind the silver, and you can do lethal damage against an enemy of impure origin very rapidly. At least, that's what I got from those old writings. Huh, was all Tiara said in response. Very impressive how much Silver Spoon actually knew about this stuff. Well, okay, so we can't use this stuff, even though it was everything you just said. Probably all too heavy for us to carry anyway. Agreed. Sorted by the obvious button on Sarah's rectangular bookcase, exposed by the open secret door. Upon activation, the false bookshelf slid out the wall, back into place, as if the evidence of the ancient horrors had not been found behind it by complete accident. Now, if you are really determined to outstab a woman as a werewolf, then we need to make sure she's an actual werewolf, or whatever paranormal monster you think, before we go in with Royal Guard-style silver weapons. Hey, you're the expert here. If you have any suggestions on how I could get revenge on that stupid silly wolf, chicken, whatever she is, I'm all ears. Well, the family has a large forage in the back. Well, I've used it a couple of times to make simple trinkets, and I think it's time I made us some nice all-silver best friend bracelets. I'm liking this idea, said Diamond Tiara, grinning evilly as Silver slid her out of the library.